Good afternoon and welcome to our Financial Advisor Forum this Friday, November 1st. I'm Greg Greenberg from The Street. And traditionally, investment advisors avoid buying funds without 3-year track records. That seems to be changing though. 166 ETFs have launched since October 2010, and they now hold $36 billion in assets. Here to name some of the best of the bunch is Todd Rosenbluth of S&P Capital IQ. Welcome, Todd.
Good to be here, Greg. Thanks.
All right, before we get into some of your favorites, tell me why investors and their advisors traditionally like to see 3-year track records.
Well, when you're dealing with mutual funds, you really want to see outperformance, and you need to be able to see that over a period of time because there's skill involved. But when you're dealing with ETFs, they're passively managed, they're becoming more popular, and you don't need to see that 3-year track record. In fact, you just need to know what's inside that and be able to compare and contrast those. And we've seen investors really gravitate towards some of these ETFs as of late.
All right, let's compare and contrast some of your favorites. The first one is the PowerShares Low Volatility ETF. Tracks the S&P 500. Why is low volatility so cool now?
Yeah, so we've seen market reach record highs or near record highs. Investors want to make sure they're protecting their downside. So the 100 least volatile stocks within the S&P 500 are an SPLV. And we think that has resonated well with investors. We like the underlying holdings from a risk perspective, as you'd expect, as these are the least risky stocks. And it's a pretty low cost ETF as well. So quite popular for S&P Capital IQ.
And speaking of low costs, Schwab really has gotten aggressive in the ETF space. One of your favorites is the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. A lot of dividend funds out there. Why do you like this one?
Well, so this, as you mentioned, is relatively inexpensive. That stands out. But we like the underlying holdings. So from a valuation and a risk perspective, there's a lot of attractive stocks that we think, according to S&P Capital IQ, in the Schwab Dividend ETF. And that's in part why we think investors have gravitated to it, not just the low cost structure.
All right, next up is the iShares Core MSCI Emerging Market ETF. That's the EMG. Now, a lot of people trade the EEM, which is the Emerging Markets ETF. Really had problems this summer with all the tapering talk, but that's the one most people trade. Why should they try this one?
Well, so this one is relatively new. It's only about a year old, but is actually quite popular. And what's different about it is, one, its cost structure is lower than EEM, and that may appeal to some investors. It also adds some more mid-cap exposure to the emerging market space. So you're getting a little bit more growth. Instead of the multinational companies that are in emerging markets, you're getting some of the local companies, and we think those are positioned to benefit quite well. So we like IEMG at S&P.
And then finally, the OIH. Now, this is the Oil Services Market Vectors ETF. I'm pretty sure this used to be one of the holders, HOLDR, which was run by Merrill Lynch a while ago. So tell me about this one. Are there any differences from now from when it was run by Merrill Lynch as a holder?
Well, so, I mean, the holdings are going to obviously change as the portfolio gets updated. But what we like and what you think is important about this is investors have chosen to go more narrowly focused. We talked about diversified ETFs at the dividend or the low volatility structure. This is an energy, obviously, play. And investors have looked towards this as a way to get exposure either at the sector or the industry level. We like, again, a number of these stocks inside from a valuation and risk perspective. And that's something we think is important at S&P Capital IQ, not just judging a 3-year performance, because with ETFs, you really got to look forward, not look backward.
All right, thanks a lot, Todd. And thank you for watching Financial Advisor Forum. Come back for After Hours Action. My guest, Orly Lobel, will speak about rating for talent. Don't miss that. I'm Greg Greenberg for The Street. I'll see you later.